Here's the thing I'm guessing has happened to most of you. You're fixing to go out shooting in the weekend, your gear is ready, and the one thing you didn't get around to is get your bottle filled up before the dive shop closes. There's something to be frustrated about. Need an alternative? Enter the portable high-pressure compressor by SMACO. I admit I was a little bit skeptical at first. I've always thought compressors to be heavy machines in need of a lot of maintenance, water cooling and oil replacement after just a couple of air tank refills. But not this one, boys and girls. This one you can plug either in your power socket at home or attach to your car battery, and even though it cannot fill up the heavy 12-liter bottle you usually carry around, it will fill up a 2-liter tank to 300 bar with no problems. Basically that means you can refill the tank of any PCP airgun out there or a small buddy bottle to comfortably fit in your backpack for your hunting trip. Let's go through the specs of this little monster, which can give you the oomph you need to send pellets downrange. It tips the scales at a little over 21 pounds or 9.7 kilos. Its size is 240 by 220 by 256 millimeters, and I think those 220 millimeters of width are with the hose attached to the unit. It can fill up a tank with a volume of up to 2 liters or 2000 cc's to a pressure of 300 bar, which is close to 4500 psi. The power output is 250 watts, voltage is AC 110 to 220 volts or DC 12 to 15 volts. It has a manual shut-off, and it's oil-free and has air cooling, which definitely makes things easier for us shooters. I'd say the finish on this thing is quite nice, and it's pretty original with this X-shaped spool for the car battery cables. We got a clamp holder, a male foster fitting for the high pressure hose, that's the bleed valve and the pressure release tube below it. The start and stop buttons are nice and tactile. The on-off button also serves as a DC-AC selector. You see the power cable port right next to the on-off switch. Fans and air inlets and outlets, and of course you should never cover those while the unit is switched on or pumping air in your cylinder. And a nice retractable carry handle. Now this next part is really important. Underneath this cover there's a selector switch for the input voltage. I strongly suggest you take into account the warning sign and remove the cover to make sure the switch is in the correct position as per the power supply where you live, 220 or 110 volts. You only have to do this once before the first time you use the device, then replace the rubber cap and never worry about it again. I think you should also take the time to read the other warning sign at the top of the unit, just to be on the safe side. This right here is a pressure release valve which has to be used only in case you let the device exceed the safe working pressure of 310 bar. Should this happen, you unscrew the nut and then replace the so-called anti-explosion diaphragm beneath it before you use the compressor again. And the pressure gauge, of course, with a pressure scale in both bar and psi. The thin arrow indicates the current pressure of the device. The thicker one is actually the pointer of the rotary knob you turn to preset the required fuel pressure. The SMACO compressor comes with the following: a user manual in many different languages, and I suggest you swallow your pride for a while and read it before you turn the device on for the first time. A power cable, a high pressure hose with a female foster fitting on both ends. Theoretically, it doesn't matter which end goes where, but the manufacturer says you should attach this one to the compressor, plus the other end has this tiny loop which you may conveniently hang on a small hook on the compressor's body. A moisture and particle filter which you attach to the hose via the foster fittings, and make sure you don't lose the spring inside. Some grease in a syringe, and an entire set of tools and some spare parts for the unit. The SMACO Heap 1 is really compact and easy to carry around. You can pop the hood of your car open, attach the cable to your battery terminals, and you're all set to refill your gun or buddy bottle. Just remember to start the engine of your car and keep it running while the compressor is working. I decided to run the first test at home and fill up my Airgun Leshy too, which is the less difficult task as I prefer the gun in its compact configuration with a smaller volume tank. So after attaching the Leshy fuel probe to the hose, I turned the pressure gauge knob to set the desired pressure and switched the unit by selecting the AC power supply option. Then, after making sure the bleed valve is closed, it's time to press the green button to start pumping air into the gun. The vibrations you see are quite normal, and because of them the device must be placed on a flat surface when functioning. Yeah, there's a challenge I didn't think I'd face: how to film the pressure gauge readings of a vibrating unit. It took between 2 and 3 minutes to get the gun from 120 bar to the preset 220, after which the mechanism shut down on its own. Then it's time to bleed the air out, of course, and depress the switch to its 0 position. Now please pay attention here. You must leave the device plugged in the power socket for another 3 or 4 minutes so that the secondary fans can further cool it off. And that's all there is to it. Needless to say, I was also anxious to try filling up my RTI Arms Prophet with its much larger air reservoir, 500 cc's, and this time I went outside to see how the unit was running in its 12-volt mode. It took the compressor 8 minutes to fill up the half-a-liter bottle from 140 to 240 bar. To wrap things up, I just had to go out in nature and take some more shots of the SMACO compressor, and I was still hyped enough to ignore the multiple insect bites. So far this unit performs great, and I love that it gives you a little more independence in shooting your air guns, and it definitely will be joining me in my outings. In the description of the video you'll find a link to the item if you're interested in it, of course. And that's not all. SMACO told me that all of you watching my video will get a discount on their compressor and all other items sold by the brand. These are the 2 discount codes, you can find them in the video description as well. I trust you enjoyed the video and found it useful, guys. Stay tuned, as there's more interesting stuff coming very soon. Cheers and see you on the next one.